Bruh, we ain't forget. I'm telling y'all, please share this video, whatever you gotta do. Because on Twitter, throughout the timeline, they want to keep giving us Julio Fulio. Like, bro, Takeoff was not antagonizing people and mocking people for their loved ones' death and all of that stuff. Takeoff didn't deserve this, bro. That's what I'm saying. I need y'all, man. I really need y'all to like, share, get this out there, bro. So people could start talking about it, because it takes a village. It takes a lot of people to start talking about something. And we can't be waiting for these news people all the time, bro. We cannot wait for them, bro. We gotta be our own news. Shout out to Blackie Speaks too, man. Yo, Big Kish back up in here. On November 1st, 2022, we lost a prominent figure in the rap industry, and he goes by the name of Takeoff. I want to react to this video by Blackie Speaks. The Takeoff case just took a strange turn.
Now, how does one of the most low-key rappers in the game end up getting murdered inside a bowling alley in front of dozens of people? And somehow the case just keeps raising more questions than answers. And how does the alleged killer get a passport, buy tickets to Mexico, secure a $1 million bond, and now has high-level legal representation? It just makes you stop and ask, how does all of that happen? All while the death of Takeoff is still being investigated. The Takeoff case just took a very strange turn, and it feels like no one is really talking about it. For those who don't know or need a refresher, November 1st, 2022, Houston, Texas, rapper Takeoff, 1/3 Amigos, was killed at a private event hosted by J Prince Jr., son of Rap-A-Lot Records founder J Prince. If you don't know who J Prince is, he is literally one of the most powerful and connected figures in the entire history of Houston hip-hop. His name carries serious weight in the streets and in this industry. The event was held at 810 Billers and Bowling, an upscale venue in downtown Houston, invitation only, roughly 40 to 50 people in a room. This wasn't a random club night, this was a closed private gathering. The official event wrapped up around 1 a.m., but people decided to stay. By 2:30 in the morning, the crowd had spilled onto the third floor balcony area, and that's when things went left. A dice game, money lost, tensions rising. Quavo was caught in the middle of it. Surveillance footage later showed him trying to walk away. His last words before the shots, "We don't play like that, bruh." Then gunfire. 2 weapons, 10 shell casings recovered at the scene, 9 from a 40 cal, 1 from a 9mm. Takeoff was hit twice, once in the back, once in the head. 2 other people were also shot, and the scene was chaotic. Now, I broke down this entire story in my video that I made back in March of last year. It was an investigative video that I dropped last year. I would highly recommend you check out that video, because in this video, I'm not going to go as deep as I did in that video, particularly when it comes to what happened during his death and whatnot. If you want to check out that video, link is in the description below.
Now, I believe I reacted to that video last year, but I want to touch on something right quick. I don't know what Blackie Speaks is going to say in this video, but what I would like to say is that we need to stop waiting for the news to tell us something, and that's when we bring our attention to it. I feel as though we need to start checking up on things. This is why I bring up a lot of old stuff, just in case y'all didn't know or you wasn't here. I like to bring it up, because that's one way that the enemy could get to us, is by us forgetting things. They rely heavily on that. Also, distractions. They distract us, and then they just rely on us forgetting about it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's something that we got to start doing, man.
Complete picture. Today I want to focus on something specific. Pretty recently, something came out regarding the Takeoff case, which I've definitely been up to date with, and I want to share those things with you guys. And there was something that quietly stood out here. The case is finally moving forward now, and I think it deserves another look. But there were some interesting things that I just really paid attention to, and I feel like you need to hear about them as well. But before we go there, let's actually look at what happened during the situation right after he died. Before police even arrived, a nurse who lived nearby heard the gunshots. She waited for the chaos to settle, grabbed her kit, and ran over to the bowling alley to see if she could help. A good Samaritan, right? But by the time she reached him, it was already too late. She said when she got to Takeoff, his eyes had rolled back. He was unresponsive. There was nothing she could do. He was gone before anyone could save him. By the time police arrived, 2:30 in the morning, downtown Houston, the scene was basically empty. Witnesses had already scattered, and a lot of them had left. Security was there. Nobody saw anything. Nobody said anything. And Takeoff was already gone. So detectives had to work with what they had, and what they had was the footage. The surveillance footage. Now, the surveillance footage placed a Patrick Xavier Clark inside that crowd, and he had a gun in his hand, and as the chaos unfolded, Clark was captured on camera firing multiple rounds in the direction where Takeoff was standing. Forensic analysis backed it up. Out of everyone there that night, Clark was the only person caught on surveillance firing in the direction that Takeoff was. After the shots, he fled on foot, briefly ducked inside the House of Blues nearby, tossed a wine bottle he had on him, then disappeared. Now here's the thing that really bothered me. There were around 30 to 50 people at this event that Takeoff was attending, this private gathering, right? So 30 plus witnesses, and Houston PD publicly begged for anyone to come forward. Almost none of them talked. And I'll be honest, that's frustrating to even think about. Someone loses their life in front of all these people and the priority becomes not say anything.
Bruh, that makes me so angry. Let's not forget J. Prince Jr. walked right past his body, bro. This is why we gotta resurface things like this, because these evil people, they wicked, bro. And they think that their money could just carry them along through their evil and they not face no consequences, man. I don't like that, bro.
Mindset in its own is kind of a tragedy. Isn't that like sad? And look, at this point, investigators had already Clark on their radar, but having a name and being able to make a case are two very different things. What they needed was simple: more leads, more evidence, and people willing to talk. But they weren't getting that. Houston PD's homicide sergeant Michael Burrow said it plainly. Over 30 people were standing outside that bowling alley, and every single one of them left without giving a statement. Every single one. Some were tracked down later, but the damage was already done. And when you sit with that, it's kind of heavy, because behind all the speculation, behind all the unanswered questions, there's a real person at the center of this. Takeoff was a son, a nephew, 1/3 of one of the most iconic rap groups in hip-hop history, Migos. Gone. Not on a tour bus, not on a stage, at a private event, surrounded by people who knew exactly what happened, and almost none of them said a word. And that's the reality of this case before it even really began. And before we move forward, let's not forget that a precious life was lost here. The quiet one, Takeoff, the one who just always stayed to himself, the guy who was always so low-key, the one who stayed out the way, he's the one who lost his life.
I remember 21 Savage came out and said, bro, that man didn't bother nobody. If you had any issue with him, it would 100% be because of you. You know what I'm saying? And bro, we can't let this stuff just ride like this, bro. And that's what J. Prince and them did when they had this little mural thing with all them flowers and stuff like that. He had on the side, let it ride. What? No, bro, we not forgetting this, bro. We gonna react to everything every new stuff come out, bro. I don't like that.
Doesn't make any sense. Then on December 2nd, 2022, exactly 31 days after Takeoff's death, Patrick Xavier Clark was taken into custody and charged with murder. But here's where things get interesting, right? Clark didn't stay locked up for long. He got out on a $1 million bond. And the question that never really got a clean answer was, who paid for that? Aside from being stated that a family friend and had helped secure his release, we don't know more than that. When you look at who Patrick Clark actually was, he was a local DJ, a strip club promoter, not exactly someone you'd expect to have that kind of money sitting around. And on top of that, it was reported that he operated largely in cash. So, where did $1 million come from? Nobody ever really
in cash, that means like no paper trail. You know what I'm saying? The lead back to where it came from. We all know where it probably came from. We all know, but
explained this part and the media moved on, but the question didn't go away. And the question didn't just come from us, the people. It also came from the prosecution. Early on in the case, prosecutors raised concerns that Clark wasn't being fully transparent about his finances. They believed he was downplaying what he actually had access to, and that raised a separate alarm. If this man has resources he isn't disclosing, he's a flight risk, and that concern wasn't just theoretical. Because here's a fact about this case that didn't get nearly enough attention. Just 2 days before his arrest, Clark had allegedly obtained a passport and then purchased tickets to Mexico 2 days before they picked him up. And this is something police made clear right after the arrest. They strongly believed Clark was preparing to flee, that he knew what was coming and was making moves to disappear. Very interesting. And they also had the receipts to back it up. His movements had been traced, the passport, the Mexico tickets, all of it came out during his first appearance in a probable cause court hearing. Now at the same time, his defense was pushing back, arguing that their client didn't have the means to post bond, that he simply couldn't come up with the cash. The judge didn't buy it, and bond was set at $1 million, and somehow Clark was able to secure it. Now, to be clear, this obviously doesn't mean that someone is paying a full million in cash, but it still requires serious money or backing to make that happen. Now, this is where things start to get a little interesting. Very early on, Clark had a high-profile legal representation. One of his attorneys was Carl Moore, a lawyer who's worked with rapper 6ix9ine, and notably, he's also worked very closely with the J. Prince family. Now, let that context sit just for a second, because here's where it gets deeper. When Clark was released on bond, his bond conditions included a list of people he was not allowed to contact.
Okay, so that's what I was about to say. If his bond was $1 million, usually a bail bondsman would probably be like 10% or 5% of that. So it would be like a portion of $1 million. Probably maybe about 50,000 or something like that.
On that list, J. Prince Jr., the son of J. Prince, the same person who hosted the event where Takeoff was killed. And not just him. Any members of his family or household were listed as well. Now, nobody officially explained why those names were on there, but think about what you just heard. The alleged killer's attorney has ties to the J. Prince family. The shooting happened at an event hosted by J. Prince Jr., and when Clark gets out on bond, the court felt it was necessary to specifically bar him from contacting that same family. I'm not here to tell you what to think, but you can obviously think for yourself, right? But
we on the same frequency with it. We on the same, like I just said it 5 minutes ago. We know what it is. I just didn't know that he was going to allude to that. But of course, man, yes, bro. Come on, man. You a DJ. DJs don't make that much money. I don't know you. Party promoter. Well, like what you doing with a gun? How you get all this money? What you doing with a gun? Did it say security? Did you wearing that many hats? I don't think so, bro. I don't think so, man. Then everybody quiet about it like, nah, man, come on, bro. He was innocent, man.
Those are facts, and you can decide whatever you make of them. And then there's another very interesting detail that I actually went over in my video from about a year ago. A man named Jim Willis surfaced in connection with the case. He was apparently a private investigator, reportedly working for Clark's defense. And according to what came out, this private investigator was the same person who facilitated the bond. Not paid for it, facilitated it, meaning someone else's money was behind it. Willis was just the one who made it happen. So now the question shifted. It was no longer how did this guy who's accused of killing Takeoff get out? It became who actually wanted him out. Who is this Willis private investigator working for? And is it possible that this private investigator was simply a lawyer between Clark and whoever was truly funding his release? Again, I'm not telling you what to think. You can connect the dots yourself. Now, the more you look at this case, and particularly some of these things here, the more you realize that almost nothing is straightforward. Actually, it is straightforward depending on how you look at it, but at the same time, there's more questions than answers. And here is where things get really interesting, right? The J. Prince family has their own attorney. His name is Kent Schaefer, a high-profile attorney who's worked with major artists like Travis Scott. And back when those bond conditions surfaced, the ones listing J. Prince Jr. and his family as people Clark could not contact, Kent Schaefer made a public statement about this, and this is what he said. He said there was no reason for the Prince family's name to be included in those conditions. The state agreed, and they were removed. Okay, fair enough, but still doesn't explain why they were there in the first place. And now here's where this case takes a turn that I generally was not expecting. Now remember the attorney that I mentioned? Not Kent Schaefer, Carl Moore, who is of course Patrick Clark's attorney, the one with ties to the J. Prince family. Now this attorney actually just a few weeks ago ended up withdrawing from the case. No explanation given. He's out. Now Patrick Clark in this case also had another attorney. She was a black woman. Her name was Letitia Hollins. She was actually representing him until recently. Now 1 month ago, she was replaced. And who replaced her? Kent Schaefer, the same attorney who publicly defended the J. Prince family when their names appeared in Clark's bond condition.
Wow. They must have forgot the shit that they done. Bro, we ain't forget. I'm telling y'all, please share this video, whatever you gotta do. Because on Twitter, throughout the timeline, they want to keep giving us Julio Fulio. Like, bro, Takeoff was not antagonizing people and mocking people for their loved one's death and all of that stuff. Takeoff didn't deserve this, bro. That's what I'm saying. I need y'all, man. I really need y'all to like, share, get this out there, bro. So we people could start talking about it, because it takes a village. It takes a lot of people to start talking about something. And we can't be waiting for these news people all the time, bro. We cannot wait for them, bro. We gotta be our own news. Shout out to Blackie Speaks too, man.
The same family whose event this shooting took place at. He is now representing the man accused of pulling the trigger and killing Takeoff. And it's also worth noting how slow this case has been moving forward. This happened in November 2022. We're now in 2026, and there's still no trial. However, a trial is apparently set for November of this year, but there are no plea deals or no agreements yet. Now, according to Clark's own attorney, both sides have spent the last several years exchanging evidence and making sure discovery is complete. And when asked whether this case will even go to trial, the response was very simple. If it's not dismissed, they're of course going to trial, which it looks like they are. And Clark during this entire time has maintained his innocence, saying he just wants to move on and live his life again. And keep in mind, he's been out on bond this entire time. And like I stated, a trial date has now been...
He been out this whole time. So nobody is held accountable for Takeoff's death. Nobody's locked up for it. Bruh, come on, man.
Set for sometime in November 2026. It looks like early November. But here's another detail that quietly slipped through the cracks, which is a detail that I actually covered in the video that I made about this over a year ago. But not everyone has seen that video, so I'll just talk about it quickly. At some point during the case, DNA evidence was mishandled. A forensic analyst made critical errors in processing evidence connected to Takeoff's murder. Errors serious enough that there is a real possibility that DNA evidence in this case was compromised. Now, the analyst was actually fired because of this. And since then, no real update has been shared on what that means for the case. No clarity on whether the evidence is still intact, usable, nothing. Meanwhile, the defense has been preparing, the prosecution has been building, and the rest of us have obviously just been waiting. 4 years later, still no justice for Takeoff. When you take a step back and look at everything together, this whole thing definitely starts to raise a lot of questions. $1 million bond, paid by unknown hands, an attorney with direct ties to the family who hosted the event, names added to bond conditions, then quietly removed, and a case that has somehow dragged on for all these years with no resolution yet. And then you have the 30 plus witnesses all at the same private event, and almost every single one of them decided to stay silent. Now, I understand the culture, you know, the no snitching culture, right? Actually, I don't understand it, but I'm just trying to make a point. I get that some people might think that way, but obviously in this situation, it's just like Goff wasn't involved in whatever went down that night.
Bro.
By all accounts, he didn't even want to be there. He was only there because Quavo wanted to go. He was innocent. He was caught in something that had nothing to do with him. And all those...
Then Quavo gonna sit up there and run his damn mouth. You know you not in Atlanta, bro. Like, you know you under the guidance of other people. Why you out there running your mouth, bro? Somebody gonna get hurt out here. What? Come on, bro. Hot-headed. Ain't thinking, bro.
Those people who watched it happen and said nothing, I guess it was fear. Maybe it was loyalty. I don't really know, right? When silence like that is this consistent, that widespread, it's one of those situations that you don't see in every situation. I just feel like Takeoff deserved better. His family deserves answers. And with the trial now set for November 2026, and hopefully the person who did this can get held accountable for what they did. Obviously, this case has taken a very strange turn, and it's kind of weird how nobody's been talking about this, but obviously that's why I'm here to keep you guys updated. If you made it this far, drop a like on this video and subscribe if you...
Bro, I'm gonna leave a link in the description, man. BIGGKISH Speaks, we appreciate you a whole lot, bro. And my question is, like, to Quavo and Offset, bro, where y'all at? Y'all got all these resources, y'all got money, right? Y'all got the means to go investigate and do things. What, bro, what are you doing, bro? Like, we got a YouTuber doing the research and stuff. I said, this is the only video that's out there. Bro, I think he deserved better, bro. But they want to tell us about Julio Fulio on the timeline. Bruh, come on, man. We got to do better than this, bro. And another thing you got to think about is people with that's real notable. They you know, they real popular, you know, in their city over time. Jay Prince probably been donating to certain people. He know a lot of people. So you got to think, when he said that the DNA was compromised and all of that, man, you got to, bro, you got to really think it. I'm not pointing at nobody, you know what I mean? YouTube, I don't know what I'm talking about. Everything is all alleged, all that good stuff. But I just want everybody to put their thinking caps on, bro, because Takeoff didn't, bro, he didn't deserve this, bro. So I'm going to ask y'all, we got to do this as a whole, bro. You know what I'm saying? the least y'all could do is share. Please share. You know, if you made it this far, let me know if you still rock with me. If you made it this far, put in the comment section. Shout out to Blackie Speaks and RIP Takeoff, man. Big Kish signing out. I'm going, y'all.